B-voy, B-voy, you already know what it is. Best versions of yourself, that's what I'm trying to make y'all. Listen up and I help you learn something to help you use in your everyday lives to help improve and further along. When you get to master it, you can help your peers improve, and then if you got kids, you can help your kids improve. I'm always just trying to help out the people and get back to what they originally always knew, and unlock all the doors that were closed that we didn't know we had the keys to. That's what B-voy is. Alright, we here on another episode of the B-voy podcast. You know, we just out here trying to make people the best version of themselves. This episode is Pursuing Passion. I got my big brother here. A lot of them know him as Greg Ford, founder of Ford Dynasty Wrestling Club, representing with my shirt today, my crew neck. And we're just here. We got him here today because he's a big part of the aspect of pursuing passion and pursuing a career that he owns, and that's his. And I wanted people to pursue that themselves and owning their own business and doing their own thing, so now they don't gotta choose their weekends. They choose their weekends. All those types of things that gives you more freedom and more creative control. So today I just want to take you guys in on my brother's journey on how he got to where he is now. There's a lot of things that he went through to get there. It wasn't an easy process. But he's just going to go into, just start off with, you know, how you got to wanting to be a wrestling coach. Why that avenue, and where'd you start at before you even got to owning your own club?
Yeah, well, definitely was an interesting journey. A lot of you don't know that I played baseball in college. You know, everybody thinks that he's just a wrestler and he didn't do anything else. I'm like, well, I actually played baseball in college, and I remember my dad calling me while I was in Texas, and he was like, "Hey, I need you to come back and take over at River Ridge," which is, you know, the school that I graduated from, and my brother was getting ready to enter his senior year, and basically, you know, he trusted that I could help make sure that he was going to get his second state title at the high school. And so, you know, that pretty much brought me back to Washington to just to make sure that, you know, everything was going to go smooth. And, you know, I was fortunate enough that, you know, the ADs and the previous coaches were big advocates of me coming in. And shoot, I want to say I was maybe 23 coming in to take over and be a head coach. And it was definitely challenging, me being young and not as mature and receptive to outside help. I was like, I think this is going to be easy. And it was very challenging at times, but, you know, having the guidance of our dad, and, you know, just you in the room knowing how to wrestle and coming up in a wrestling family made it a lot easier. And it's like, man, coaches coached for years without a state champ. When, you know, coming in on year one, having my brother on the team, I can say that I had a state champ, you know, the first year. And so that process was short-lived. I coached there for 2 years, and, you know, we did find a lot of success, but we had an opportunity to move on and accept a greater challenge at Lincoln High School, where, you know, it's very diverse, it's poverty-stricken, it's a lot of good athletes that knew nothing about wrestling. And so that was the next challenge, in having Eddie Lacrosse there, who I was familiar with because he wrestled for my dad in college, you know, kind of helped get me in the door and take over a program that I wanted, and taking them from years of losing and few numbers to us having 60 plus athletes, us having the highest GPA on campus as far as a team, to top 10 in the state, too many state places to name. We won districts every year that I was there, just tournament after tournament after tournament, and just the success just grew and grew and grew and grew. Introducing these inner city athletes to freestyle and Greco-Roman wrestling, taking them outside of the state, and just exposing them to a whole different avenue that was foreign to them. You know, a lot of these kids had never been on a plane, they've never been out of state, just all kinds of demographical issues that was new to them, and just exposing them to these different experiences. You know, we've developed lifelong relationships because of it. And so, make a long story short, you know, the year that I was thinking that we were in position to make a run for a state title, you know, it was unfortunate, but you know, when you think that you are doing the right things and you have athletes that don't always have parents at home, or they don't have support from parents and they're trying to figure out things on their own, you become that mentor, that father figure, that person that they rely on. And so, you know, especially at a place at Lincoln High School where there's not a lot of father figures, and the main thing that got us to the position, to the success that we have, was them feeling like they could trust, you know, a male. And me being that person, I wanted to, you know, always be able to be reliable. So if an athlete is walking in the rain or, you know, whatever, they needed some kind of help, I tried to make myself available. If they were struggling in a class and they needed some advice, you know, I was trying to point them in the right direction. If they wanted to wrestle in college, it's like, okay, let me try to help you. And so basically, there was a big uproar with me being let go at Lincoln High School over providing an athlete with the ride, or athletes with the ride, whether it was to the school or after school. We go travel all over the place for tournaments and it's late. And, you know, I didn't want a kid walking home late. And the main reason why was I had an athlete while I was there. You know, he was shot and killed after, you know, making these life-changing decisions. You know, he was on the right path. He raised his grades. He was competing well on the mat. You know, he just, you know, coach, I'm gonna join the military. You know, they had structure, they had plans, and you know, I had made that promise to myself and his mom that, you know, I'm gonna do my best to look after these athletes and make sure that they're not walking home at night and, you know, getting involved in tough predicaments, or, you know, things that they can't control. And so, you know, that led to a big uproar where, you know, it was a big investigation.
In recent years, the team's built quite a reputation on the mat. They've won the league title 4 times in a row, but this could be their toughest match of all, fighting to get their coach's job back.
He's like a mentor, a father figure, someone I can always talk to.
Tonight, the players and their parents took the fight to the Tacoma School Board. Coach Greg Ford Jr. was fired for giving kids rides home. Parent after parent said they reached out to the coach for assistance, especially for early morning practices or tournaments that were far away.
And I asked that man for help. So please respect that as a parent.
Coach Ford said many of his players come from single-parent homes or both parents work.
I was asked for help, and, you know, and I stepped up instead of turning away.
But a district representative says Ford was warned.
We have a very strict boundary invasion policy in this district. The coach violated the policy. It was pointed out to him that he had violated it and was told not to do it again, and he did it again, and so we terminated his contract with the district.
But parents told district leaders it's commonplace for coaches in every sport at the school to drive.
They've all received rides from their coaches, and they've been to some of the coaches' house. So I don't understand why they're allowed to, and Coach Ford just got fired. And some of them weren't even with my permission.
Coach Ford said he approached school administration about getting paperwork from parents so there wouldn't be a problem, but the district says that still wouldn't work. Tonight it was the kids and parents who did all the talking.
He also said that wrestling is where I belong. For some reason, you know, he knew that it would mold me into a better person.
Sharing the lessons he taught them and their hope that these will not be the last ones they receive from him.
Ford has done nothing but do the right thing. Please do not teach my child to not do the right thing.
With that being said, that helped motivate me instead of crushing me. Have people in my corner, like my wife, my dad, my mom, my brother, and they were just like, just use this to push you in a different direction.
I just want to step in real quick. Just so you guys get a better idea of this whole situation, we looked at it as this was a horrific situation. Me as being the brother, hearing about this and knowing about the growth that he's already produced in this Lincoln Wrestling Club in less than 3 to 4 years, it was phenomenal. But to hear that he's getting let go for driving a kid home, it was unreal, because from a coaching aspect, parent aspect, like, you see that relationship all the time through a lot of sports. You hear coaches doing this all the time, and it was just super unfortunate event, but it brought a lot of attention to Greg and what he brought to the table. And we like to say, when one door closes, another open, and this was like one of the major things that this bad thing happened, but it opened up this door to him pursuing what he really wanted to do in life and still bring those athletes in that he had at other clubs or at other high schools. And so I'm going to let Greg continue a little bit more. I just want to step in for a quick sec on, now this unfortunate event happens that was, horrible. Now he's moving on to bigger and better things, and you can go from there. What was next after this?
So what's next is, this process of me being involved in USA Wrestling, and me stepping on the national team circuit and coaching the best athletes the state has to offer. And so it went from, being under what they call WIA rules, coaching at the high schools, to USA Wrestling. And then, having these different mentors of coaches that I know that ran clubs and are successful. I was able to pick their brain a little bit, and just not even knowing how big this process is with just starting your own club, and not even just starting your own club, having a nonprofit. And so, my wife was just super, super motivated, and was like, I'm going to help with getting this started. And people don't realize that starting a nonprofit is not just signing one document. It is pages and pages of documents, and then it's like $800 and something, and then it could be months and months before you even find out if you even get approved, to have a 501c3. And so that process alone was super stressful, not doing it before and everything being foreign to you, but it was this passion of, I want to try to provide these different outlets for athletes that are less fortunate. It is expensive to travel all over the nation and compete in these tournaments. And when you have kids that have a single parent household, or parents that just don't care about what they're doing, if they don't have these kind of outlets, they seek them in other places like the streets and gangs. And
Absolutely.
Our focus was to prevent that and have something where we can try to apply for grants and whatnot, so we can support these athletes that are less fortunate and continue to keep them on the mats. Just that diamond in the rough analogy.
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
don't know who can do what. And I was able to see that at Lincoln High School, when you have kids that have never ever wrestled before, and in year one, they're a district champ. It's like, that kind of stuff is unheard of. But you have a different hunger from these kids that are on the streets all the time, and they're providing for themselves. And it's that fight in them, and that fire where they don't care if you've won multiple state titles. They're like, I'm going to come after you.
Yeah.
And I have something to prove. And so those are those athletes that have, the biggest upside to me. Granted, it's fun having those athletes that come in that wrestled 8-9 years and they're already seasoned and they kind of know what's going on. But when you take those athletes from ground zero and you watch them blossom and then move on to competing in college, it's like, man, this was a very small window. And now look at what they're doing. Now they're excelling in college to where they were not even thinking about college at one point.
Oh, yeah. And I like to say, Greg, he comes in, he transforms these kids' life. He's very well connected in the wrestling community. For him to create his own club and process to creating his own business, I would like to say there was a lot of trials, but it was, since he was passionate about it, he's been into it for a long time, and he saw the process on development of kids, and he's lived the process. It was very easy for him to engage and get these kids to join the club because they already wanted to. They already know the development that he was going to have to be able to take kids to the next level. And not only did he have the passion for the sport, but he had the passion for development and transformation in kids, and he knew the steps that needs to be taken. And those elements you don't always see in all the coaches, the being able to take kids to the next level. So when this club derived and was developed, it was easy for him to transition and have that growth. In the first year of the club, he had over 100 kids. That's kind of unreal. You don't really see clubs having over 100 kids in their first year. And so as this picks up, we're still learning, we're still growing, we're still creating avenues to further develop. It's still transitioning, and we're still learning to give these kids the edge. So that the passion that he has, and the fact that he even pursued creating his own club through these bad things that happened beforehand, is truly amazing. And I always just say, to my viewers and listeners out there, go out and seek what you're really good at. And if you're passionate about it, it's not really going to be a job anymore. It's going to be something you want to do every day that you wake up. Obviously you have your breaks from time to time, but it's not a stress. But you got to find that thing that you want to do and continue to do it. And I like to say, to wrap a little bit of this up, when it came to the wrestling, it wasn't always just, it's not just all about wrestling. Wrestling gives you sets of skills that we developed in the club, like mental toughness, discipline, everyday training, so we can, because wrestling, it's only you and that other person on the mat. So you're the only person that, feels failure or feels success. As coaches, we're just helping you guys out to have that development and become champions, and you to come back so we can correct your mistakes. We learn from our mistakes, and failure is not so much of a bad thing. With failure, helps you succeed more in the future. And that's just a different positive mindset that we got to always develop. And so if you want to touch on a little bit, Greg, just how it's not all about wrestling, it's about correlating the things from wrestling to the outside world as well. If you want to touch on that just a little bit for you as well.
Absolutely. I think it's definitely about developing life skills and good people. It's cool to hear, wrestlers can do anything and they're the most disciplined people on the planet, and it's not easy. Wrestling is definitely not easy. It's pretty much a fight. All the time, it's a grind. The matches are long and stressful, and they're not always going your way, and a ref may make a bad call. There's so many different elements that you have to deal with. And then when you're able to overcome those things in matches, it translates to life. We're going to have our ups and downs. We're going to have our struggles. We're going to have things or people trying to take away from our success or pull us in the wrong direction. But as wrestlers, you're taught, I got to try to figure out a way to come out on top. I can't, if I'm losing, I have to break down, why am I losing? And then if I'm not able to break down, I go find my coach. It's like, hey, where am I losing this position? What's going on? And so that leads us as coaches to, we have to continue to educate ourselves. We have to continue to seek these different skills to provide these athletes with, because they're looking for answers. And so if I can't provide the answers, I have to at least be able to point them in the right direction to find those answers, because that's our service to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Man, it's great to discuss this stuff with, obviously my brother that was passionate about what he does as his career now. Something that he loves to do and that he's been doing for quite some time now, and the development is still getting better and better. We talk all the time about how can we get better? How can we... sorry for the cutoff. We had a little technical difficulties, but I was just wrapping it up anyways. Just saying, go out there, pursue your passion. Always try to become the best version of yourself. That's what we're trying to push here. Last but not least, if you're trying to become part of a wrestling club out in Washington, this is kind of the spot. There's others too, but, just have your options open. If you're trying to look forward to looking into the club, there's social media, Facebook, Instagram. Just type in Ford Dynasty Wrestling Club. The websites are there if you want to donate or become a sponsor soon, or whatever you're looking into. It's fine. Sport of wrestling is great to be a part of, and it can help with development with a lot of life skills. But overall, just go seek out what you want to do in your life, and don't let anything stop you from getting there. There's always going to be people telling you no. Don't give up and keep pushing to be the best version of yourself. All right, you guys. Later.
Peace.